So the first thing that you need to know about me is that my father is an illustrator and his name is R.O. Blechman. So I never went to art school. I never went to graphic design school because I grew up with my father who's always bringing design into the living room. And he has this funny way of drawing with these really big noses and this very kind of squiggly line. This was the opening spread for the magazine, and my father art directed the shit out of me to do this. But this was, even though I said that my son, the art director, yeah, he actually art directed me in how we did this drawing together.
Okay.
Where are you gonna come? You're just smiling, but you haven't heard my song, and you said...
Working with students is not as different as you would think. It's great working with students because you get all these fresh and new ideas, whereas a lot of illustrators, they have a certain way of solving problems, whereas students are still trying to figure out which way is best. And what's great is that students have so much enthusiasm and energy, and so they give you more ideas. They work harder for you, which is always great also. This is by Noma Barr. The name of this book is Mr. Peanut, and it's about a man whose wife is allergic to peanuts, and he decides to kill her by putting some peanut butter in a dish that he cooks for her. Ultimately, when I showed the work that the students had done to my editors to get them approved, the editors don't really know that they're students, which is great. So now I'm just going to show you a bunch of book review stuff. So this is one of the first covers that I did in 2006. The artist is Brian Ray, and it was a special, the name of this issue was Bad Boys, Mean Girls, Revolutionaries, Outlaws, Beautiful Losers. But a lot of the book review is made up of portraits. And this is 3 books on Woody Allen. So I asked Richard McGuire to do Woody Allen out of wood.
Somebody tell me who's gonna show me the way. Somebody please tell me which is likely not the wrong one, yeah.
It's hard to say whether schools are helpful for people who want to become illustrators or not, because I myself, I didn't go to an art school and I worked as an illustrator. But I do think it is helpful. Of course, it can't hurt. I mean, it's possible to become a very successful illustrator without having gone to school, but I think, and especially depending on what the school is, but a school like Mimaster brings in professionals, and I think having access to professionals in the field is a great opportunity and a great experience. But it was one of those few covers that people really, they loved it, because it's just it's so funny. And it's important for the art director not only to push the illustration, but then to also push the editors to accept it. But my editors are lucky; they loved it. So this is a different kind of portrait. This is a book of short stories by Sam Shepard. So I gave it to a graphic designer. Sometimes the editors say, "Oh, we want a photograph of Sam Shepard." I'm like, "Oh, I don't want a photograph of Sam Shepard." So it's like if I take the photograph and I give it to a graphic designer, and then some of the stories are about highways and traveling, and then maybe he can do something to make it look a little more interesting. And then sometimes you can't show the author. This is a book by Thomas Pynchon. I don't know if you know Thomas Pynchon. He did this book, Gravity's Rainbow V. He's notorious for not being photographed. So I think maybe 1 or 2 photographs exist of him. Nobody knows what he looks like. So we had to show Pynchon without showing a photograph of Pynchon. So that actually spells out the word Pynchon. I'm just going to show you a little bit about process. So I'm going to show you 4 different covers, 4 different sketches. This is the kind of thing I look at these, I'm like, huh? That's nice. Huh? You know, it's like there's not much more than that. There's not an idea that she's trying to show. I didn't read the book. It's a 300-page book. The review says a little bit about the book, but spends most of the time talking about the author. So it's like, how do we do this? We know it's about a tiger. We know it takes place in Eastern Europe, like in Slovenia or Belgrade, and we know there's like the war atrocities from Serbia are definitely part of this. All right, so which one would you choose? Like this one? This one? Nobody likes this? It's funny, it's like, it's so subjective. There are no rules. I used to think there's one that's better than all of them out there. I just have to find it. And then it's like the more you talk to different people, it's like, oh, I like that one, I like that one, I like that one. This is the one we chose. So it went from that, then she sent me that, and then I showed it to the editors, and the editors said, oh no, why is there a skeleton? We don't want a skeleton, even though it was about atrocities, partly. That's when your job can be really hell. So then she had to change it and just do a normal figure digging, which, yeah. And then that's the final. I think it's definitely the field of illustration is changing right now. So I think the traditional place for illustrators to have their work published was magazines and newspapers, and I think that market is definitely shrinking. So I think in that sense, it's a difficult moment for illustrators. I think there's no question. I think every illustrator will say how they're getting paid less and they're not getting paid, and that there are not as many jobs available. But I also think that the reason that magazines are suffering is because a lot of people are publishing online, and I think there are new opportunities for illustrators to do work digitally. And I think it's like this generation now that's going to decide how illustration is going to be used on the internet, how it's going to be used on the iPad or various whatever device will next be invented.